Okay. So good evening everyone. I'm Sitmulku together with Raymond and Abdul. We are presenting findings from our People Analytic project from Australian Outdoor. Next please. So here's our content. We have executive summary, data analysis, stakeholder prediction, prescribing action, and recommendation. Next please. So Australian Outdoor is a retail organization with over 15,000 staff across 4 departments. So our key question was, why is the business performance declining and what does the employee data reveal about the underlying causes? So if you take a look at the problem overview here, so data tell a clear story that between 2020 and 2023, company sales declined by an average of 38% across 4 departments. So falling from 88.9 million to $57.1 million is a huge number. But at the same time, workforce indicators show concern. So employee stress score average 5.8 out of 10, while intention to leave average around 5.4, both above the midpoint. So these issues are connected and declining performance appear linked with the workforce experiencing pressure, inconsistency management, and reduced well-being. Next slide, please. So talking about the theoretical framework, our hypothesis, because our analysis is based on established, HRM, human resource management and well-being research, particularly the top demand research model, which we got from our A2. So we have four hypotheses. The first one is psychological well-being, improve engagement. Second one is work-life balance, improve, engagement. And then third one will be quality performance feedback, improve engagement. And last one is perceived manager support, improve engagement as well. So all of the four hypotheses were, supported and while this finding show relation rather than just causation. The pattern also is like statistically significant with the consistency of the previous research. Next slide, please. So the key finding when we looking at the data, we compare all of the 4 departments across engagement, stress, intention to leave. One of department clearly stand out as the most critical risk area, and this highlight where intervention should be prioritized to improve employee well-being and ultimately business performances. So I have present all of the problem, the issue of the business, and then also the four hypotheses and the key finding. Now I'm moving to the next part, which is the data analysis, which will be presented by both.
Thank you. So, first of all, let me ground this in the data. So our sample is 300 employees with all 20 survey items rated on a 10-point scale. A few numbers stand out. Engagement average 5.3, below where it should be. Stress is elevated at a 5.7, and intention to leave at 4.2 is a meaningful attrition signal. So before we even test a single relationship, the descriptive picture already points to a workforce under strain. Now to the hypothesis. So hypothesis one, psychological well-being is the engine of engagement. Personal well-being correlates with engagement with engagement at 0.75, the strongest single predictor in the entire data set. Job-related well-being is nearly as powerful at 0.65. This sits squarely within job demand resources theory, and the crisis department proved the point. A parallel report the lower personal well-being in the company at 4.24. The department whose staff feel least well is the same department that is failing commercially. Hypothesis 2, work-life balance drive engagement confirmed at 0.55, a large effect. The flip side matter just as much. Also, the poor work-life balance correlate with intention to leave at minus 0.37. So balance protects both engagement and retention. And once again, apparel is lowest at 4.5, sorry, shift pattern and workload, they are eroding recovery. And moving to the hypothesis 3, the quality of performance feedback drive engagement. We use perceived learning and development assess as the developmental feedback signal, and it predicts engagement at 0.41, a medium effect. The surrounding culture matters too. Coloring at 0.5 and the intervention point is specific and addressable. A para staff rate L and D assessed at 4.6, a full 0.7, a full 0.17 below outdoor gear. And finally, the hypothesis 4, pursue manager support. Certification with manager predicts engagement at 0.46 and importantly predicts intention to leave at minus 0.5. The line manager is how HR policy is actually felt by itself. And the gap between departments is stark, 2.77 points from outdoor gear at 7.1 down to apparel at 4.3. The key insight here is that these four pathways don't act alone. They reinforce each other, which is exactly why apparel's engagement has collapsed. Moving on to the coloration matrix. So the full 12 by 12 coloration matrix confirms all four hypotheses and reveal the broader pattern. Personal well-being and perceived stress has have the widest reach and correlating significantly with almost every other outcome in the data set. So if you want one level with the most downstream effect, it is well-being. And finally, will be the department comparison. Pulling it together by department, every metric tell the same story. Apparel and footwear is consistently worse on engagement, stress, and intention to leave. Manager certification and also customer certification. So overall, outdoor gear is consistently best. This is a noise, but it is a coherent repeating pattern. And that will be all for my part. And I will pass the floor to Siamway again.
Okay, moving on to my next part. So we're talking about the business outcome already. So we're talking about stakeholder impact prediction. So now we turn to what this finding mean for the organization to to doesn't add from what they do before. For employee, the biggest concern is apparel and footwear. Stress is high, the manager satisfaction is low, and the data suggests rising turnover risk. Replacing department staff is costly, and losing experienced employee also means losing knowledge and capability. So in accessory and essential, the risk is declining engagement. Research shows that once engagement fall below a certain level, the recovery become harder and require greater investment. And this department approached the tipping point, and across the organization, our confirmed hypothesis show that common driver of poor outcome, low well-being, weak work-life balance, poor feedback, and limited manager support. So without intervention, these issues are likely to spread. Next, please. If you're talking about the business impact, the second concern is customer. So apparel and footwear already has the company lowest customer satisfaction score, and it has declining since 2020. And if engagement and management quality continue to weaken, customer satisfaction is expected to fall further. And for manager and the risk to burn out and turnover, and high demand and low support reduce effectiveness and also increase attrition. Finally, for the organization, this become a business issue. Sale in apparel and footwear has already dropped sharply. This evidence, you can see in the slide, suggests that this is driven not only by market factors, but by the workforce condition. Without action, continued revenue, decline is likely to be the outcome of this company. So I'm not talking about this part. I will move to next slide, which is presented by Abdul. We were talking about the prescribing action.
So our recommendations follow a three-tier framework sequenced by urgency and impact. In the immediate term, within the first 3 months, we recommend 4 actions. First, conduct a structured exit risk interviews across apparel and footwear to identify the employee at the highest attrition risk before they leave. Second, deploy a stress audit to identify the specific role, workload, and environmental contributes to the 6.5 one average stress score because you cannot address what you have not diagnosed. Third, freeze non-essential task addition in apparel and footwear, while the audit is underway. Adding more demand to an already maxed out team will accelerate the problem, not fix it. Fourth, brief all line managers on the full data findings. Transparency is a resource. When staff see the leadership is taking the data seriously, it itself reduces cynicism and disengagement. In the short term, 3 to 9 months, we recommend launching a manager capability program across apparel and footwear and accessories and essentials, focused on coaching skills, psychological safety, and the quality of developmental feedback. We recommend implementing an employee assistance program and promoting it visibly, reducing the stigma around using it as important as having it. We recommend L&D access audit to close the 2-point perception gap between apparel and outdoor gear. And we recommend quarterly pulse surveys, not annual, so that leadership can track movement on the 4 hypotheses pathways in real time. In the sustained phase, 9 to 24 months, we recommend embedding well-being metrics in manager performance review, making it leadership a leadership KPI rather than a soft aspiration. We recommend developing outdoor gear as an internal center of excellence, and we recommend commissioning a follow-up voice survey at 12 months to measure quantified improvement. Next, please. For the apparel and footwear specifically, a single level intervention will not work. All 4 hypothesis pathways are broken simultaneously in the department, and they reinforce each other. The hypothesis 1 pathway, psychological well-being, to engagement requires reducing the role demands and protecting recovery time. A 1-point improvement in psychological well-being based on the correlation of R equals between 7-5 predicts a meaningful and measurable engagement gain. The hypothesis 2 pathway, work-life balance to engagement, requires a shift patterns review, predictable restoring and protection from work intrusion outside hours. The hypothesis 3 pathway, feedback quality to engagement, requires moving from crisis-driven feedback toward a continuous developmental conversations, also closing the L&D access gap. And the hypothesis 4 pathway, manager support to engagement, requires a structured, externally facilitated manager development program. Quarterly 360 feedback with accountability, manager development goals tied to team engagement score and performance review. Next, please. We go next. Our second major recommendation is to treat outdoor gear not just as the best performing department, but as the organization's most valuable internal resource. Look at the comparison table. Outdoor gear versus apparel footwear engagement gap of 1.36, manager satisfaction gap of 2.7, CSAT gap of 1.69, sales decline 17%, 17 percentage points better. Analytics culture rated high versus unclear. The practices that produce these outcomes already exist inside the company. We recommend the 3 steps. First, commission a structured qualitative study to understand what outdoor gear managers actually do differently, their coaching behaviors, their culture building practices, their approach to L&D. Second, codify those practices into a transferable playbook. Third, pilot the playbook in accessories and essentials, measure engagement and stress at 6 months, and scale to apparel if results hold. This is a cost-effective intervention that uses existing institutional knowledge rather than expensive external consultants. We found out that Australian outdoors does not have a market problem. It has a people problem, and the solution is already visible in the data. And now moving to the references. Next. And thank you, everyone.